What we want to do now is jump from the Thames River all the way over to the Mystic River. And we're very, very fortunate to have in Groton, partially in Groton, the most recognized tourism brand in the entire state of Connecticut in Mystic. So our next speaker is Todd Brady. And Todd is the chairman of the Downtown Mystic Merchants Association, and he's part owner of Factory Square over there on Water Street. You've all seen it. He's lived in Mystic since 2001, but worked in the area since 1989. He's a graduate of Colgate University and Cornell Law School, and he's worked in real estate development as a currently trustee of the Mystic Museum of Art, the new name, Mystic Museum of Art, Andrea. And he's a member of the Groton Historic District Commission and former co-president of the Mystic Noank Library. So he brings quite a wide perspective of Mystic. So Todd?
Thank you, Al. You know, I just wanted to say that over the last 2 years, I've gotten to know both Al Valenti and Susan Bailey. Al to a greater degree since he's the president of the Downtown Mystic Merchants. And I just want to say that Al is one of the more intelligent and thoughtful and passionate advocates for this region. And thank you, Al, for all of that. Al agreed to ask me back this year if I said something nice about it. So I'm going to talk about downtown Mystic. I'm also going to talk a little bit about the region in general because we're all interconnected. And I had the privilege recently to attend a meeting of so-called stakeholders in the region concerning the chambers of commerce and economic development and business development. And if one thing came out of that meeting that I think was very important, it was recognizing that we are all in this together in terms of encouraging and advocating for greater economic development. So we have a multitude of chambers of commerce. We have the Downtown Mystic Merchants. We have the Groton Business Association. And we're all looking around for the same money, I think. But I think to the degree that we can coordinate our activities, to the degree that we can advocate for the different areas of this community, and that includes Mystic Village, Downtown Mystic, the center of Groton, the city of Groton, and even Westerly, we'll all benefit from that. There are obviously a number of issues that confront this region, and if we look back over the last 25 years, we've taken our lumps. You know, you think back to when Nusk was in New London, companies, Analysis and Technology, United Nuclear, where they built the submarine nuclear reactors, which is now the Mohegan Sun Casino. A lot of businesses have left this area, and the important thing to think about in that regard is that if you live in this community, you run into a lot of former Navy personnel, many of whom settled in this region after their careers ended, and a lot of them were employed by many of these employers. Of course, the Electric Boat is the biggest of all of those. But I think that something we have to hope maybe happens in the future is, especially with Electric Boat and all of the contracts they've got, that maybe we get a little bit more clustering of businesses that support the big employers so we can create more jobs for people in this area. I also think that in addressing Pfizer's move of a number of employees to Cambridge and even maybe even General Electric's move, that those moves were motivated by a lot of things, synergy in terms of Cambridge and the pharmaceutical industry in that area. But I also think another thing that may be at work here to some degree is the fact that there has been a growing trend towards a lot of our younger people wanting to live in urban areas, not wanting to drive a car. And I think that we're at a disadvantage in that respect. And so in order to counter that, I think we have to do everything we can to try to make this a more viable and exciting and interesting community to live in, both to attract naval personnel when they retire to stay in this area, and also to attract and keep employees at Electric Boat and at Pfizer, because there are a lot of things we have to offer. Not everyone wants to live in a city. But if you look at this region, I mean, it's really pretty extraordinary when you look at all that we have, whether it's the Mystic Seaport, the aquarium, the water, the beaches, downtown Mystic, the casinos. I mean, I'm not a gambler, but I've been to the casinos. There's a lot of entertainment that exists there. I mean, we're very unique in that respect, and we're blessed by all of these various facilities and entities that are in this area. So I think that one of the things I want to address then is continuing to expand this area as a place that you want to live in, a place with a viable and strong lifestyle. And when I talk about lifestyle, I'm talking about events, food festivals, bike and running events, more restaurants, and innovative and creative real estate development. So as regards downtown Mystic, there have been a lot of changes since I spoke last year. We now have about 20 new venues in downtown Mystic, new businesses. We had a number of vacancies. As most of you are aware, the downtown took a heck of a battering with the streetscape, economic development, the bridge repairs, and all that kind of thing. We are past that, and I think that things are definitely looking up for the area. The new retailers that we have, many of them they're younger people. They're highly motivated. Others are experienced retailers who've opened branch facilities in the downtown, and they're professionals. They know what they're doing, and so they add to a lot of the local retailers who are also very, very hardworking. I think those are good signs. I don't know if any of you have been to some of the new shops, Sift, the bakery, which is a pretty extraordinary place. I'd encourage you all to go there. You could pick that place up and plunk it down in the Hamptons, and it would fit in perfectly. I mean, it's really raising the standards for downtown. We've got a new juice bar downtown. We've got a number of clothing stores that I referred to. And we also have the Spicer Mansion, which is up by the Mystic and Noank Library. It's across the street. It's going to be managed by Ocean House Management, and it is an absolute top shelf, top of the line facility. It's a private B&B. You and I can't actually go there to eat unless we get a room. And the rooms are going to be very expensive. But I think that it brings a new twist to the area. It's something we don't currently have. And I mean, they actually took the chef from the Weekapaug Inn, and she is full-time at this place, and she'll only be producing meals for the guests and/or the guests of the guests. But it's a very big deal. There are more new restaurants planned for downtown. Some of them are about to open them. Some of them have opened. You know, as the owner of Factory Square, we lost one of our restaurant tenants a year or so ago. We have talked to numerous potential restaurateurs. We're trying to be very careful and selective about who's going to move in there. I mean, we're trying to raise the bar. We're trying to make it so that when you go into some of these new facilities, they look a little bit more advanced, higher attention to design, that kind of thing. It creates more excitement. It attracts more people to downtown Mystic. I think I said last year that as a former resident of West Hartford, I watched West Hartford revive itself, and it did so largely on the backs of its restaurants. Restaurants attract people. People who go out to go eat at restaurants will find a place to park. If you're going to buy a tube of toothpaste, you're probably not going to deal with downtown Mystic and the parking situation. But I think it's interesting that some people will comment that, well, what's the maximum level of restaurants? We have enough restaurants in Mystic. We don't need any more. And the Groton Business Association had a speaker last month, Don Poland, who had done his doctoral thesis on the development of West Hartford Center from 1980 to 2012. And he made a very interesting comment. He said in 1980 there were 16 restaurants in West Hartford Center, now there are 48. He basically said, people have asked him what the threshold is. He said there isn't one. The more you have, the more people it attracts. So I think that we should pursue that and bank on what he said about the proliferation of restaurants. Other things that have gone on are finishing up. The Mystic Seaport is about to complete their new exhibition hall. It's an extremely innovative architectural structure. From the standpoint of design, it's plunked down in what is an old-time village. I think it's emblematic of what we can do and how innovative we can be with regard to architecture, and that you can mix new with old. And I'd encourage that to continue. And as a member of the Historic District Commission, I can tell you that we are far more open to innovative ideas from people who come to see us. I guess maybe most important and most sort of stunning and miracle of miracles is the fact that the Central Block is now under construction. It's only taken 15 years. But it is a huge thing for downtown Mystic. And when we've been looking at that fence forever, they've even replaced it. It was up there for so long. And you know, it's going to bring more housing to downtown Mystic. It's going to bring more retail shops. The developers were at the Historic District Commission earlier this week. They have some revised design elements, I think all of which are enhancements. And this is a really big deal for downtown Mystic. I have to talk about parking. You can't talk about Mystic without talking about parking, right? There have been some changes lately. I don't know if most of you are aware that typically we have fairly high parking requirements in downtown Mystic. They cost a lot of vendors and landlords like myself a lot of money. Typically what happened in Mystic in the past was that if you needed 100 spaces, they applied what was called the 5/8 rule, which meant that you needed about 62% or 62 spaces instead of 100. The Zoning Commission recently passed an amendment to the regulations that reduced the parking requirements to 50% of what was required. One of the primary reasons why they did that is because we have had some major changes as a result of a court case in this state that has severely restricted the right of planning and zoning commissions to waive or modify zoning regulations. In the downtown Mystic area, it's the waterfront design district. Historically, the zoning commission could waive or modify any of the zoning regulations, setbacks, height limitations, that kind of thing. We've lost that ability to do that going forward. That means that if you want to build a building and you want to make a modification, you have to get a variance. As a non-practicing attorney, I can tell you in most instances you are not entitled legally to a variance. You have to show a hardship. Most instances you don't have a true legal hardship. That doesn't mean you might not get the variance. I think ZBAs do everything they can to grant as many variances as they can. But if someone comes in to complain, chances are you're dead in the water. We have plans to build a 32-room hotel on Water Street and at our marina, at the Mystic Downtown Marina, Randall's Wharf. We cannot build that hotel under the current zoning regulations. We need modifications, we need waivers. So we're basically dead in the water. And the plan is for a boutique-style hotel, something that doesn't exist in this region. It's another of what I would characterize as a lifestyle improvement. That kind of hotel doesn't exist in southwestern Rhode Island either. To address that issue, the Office of Planning and Development in Groton made a request to the town council, subsequently to the representative town meeting, that they allocate $150,000 to rewrite the zoning regulations in the town of Groton in their entirety. Al and I appeared on a number of occasions. I always bump into Al at these meetings because we're there to speak and advocate. And as Al said, we win some, we lose some. We got hammered badly on Tuesday night, but whatever. That was regarding Exit 89 signage. We were demolished. But in any event, the council and the representative town meeting, the RTM, agreed to keep this money in the budget, notwithstanding that Groton is facing some very major fiscal issues in terms of what its budget is and what its revenues are. And that money is going to be money that will be used to rewrite the zoning regulations. I had asked, as a member of the focus group, when the town of Groton initiated a marketing survey and a zoning audit, how long it would take to rewrite the zoning regulations. The initial number I got was 3 to 5 years. They built the Empire State Building in a year. We put a man on the moon in 7 years. Something tells me that rewriting the zoning regulations is a little bit simpler than those two endeavors or undertakings. The last time I asked, they said a year to a year and a half, so we're making progress. All I'm hoping is that the Office of Planning and Development goes out and hires a couple of rocket science zoning consultants to do this job. And what I'd do, if it were me, but I'm in the private sector, I'd book a hotel room, I'd stick them in there, I'd cut a hole in the door to pass food through, and I'd say, don't come out unless you have the first draft in 90 days. I mean, these kinds of things can be done if you push them. And it's very, very important that we get these new zoning regulations in place, zoning regulations that will streamline the development process and make it easier and make us more attractive for potential developers, job creation, et cetera. And at that point, then, it becomes incumbent on our local commissions, our zoning commission, our planning commission, to move these things through. As a member of the Historic District Commission, which is a wholly revamped group, I mean, we changed our membership entirely about 3 years ago. I know what it's like to sit on these boards. You start to drink the Kool-Aid. The power goes to your head. I mean, I've seen it. And the other thing is, if you attend a lot of these zoning meetings, and you have to give credit to the people who serve on them, I mean, there's no word that can better describe dull than a zoning commission hearing. I'd slit my wrist if I were on a zoning commission. I will tell you in contrast that at the Historic District Commission, we take our jobs very seriously. We don't take ourselves that seriously. And that's a fundamental difference. You're not there to tell people what they can't do. You're supposed to enable them to do what they want to do. And we get a few harebrained schemes at the Historic District Commission, and we talk to them. And I think we get a good result. The other thing, I've jumped a little bit, but the other thing about parking I wanted to say is it's perceived to be a bigger issue than it actually is. The Mystic Museum of Art's parking lot is rarely full, but you have to pay. As a former resident of West Hartford, if you go to downtown West Hartford, you pay for parking no matter where you are. I'm not necessarily advocating paid parking, but there is parking in downtown Mystic. Maybe the solution is to actually build a parking garage somewhere in downtown Mystic, maybe on the Stonington side. We're a little tight for space on the Mystic side. Build the parking lot, tell everyone we have it. There won't be anybody in it, but at least they'll know if they come downtown they can park. Because I think that's maybe the solution. A little expensive, but something to think about. One other thing I wanted to address is a favorite topic of mine, and that's the Mystic River Park Commission. In the early 90s, during a period of extreme real estate economic distress, the owner of most of the properties on Cottrell Street on the Stonington side of Mystic basically went belly up, and they auctioned off all the properties at an FDIC auction in Boston. We were at that auction. We were asked not to participate and to bid against the fire district, which intended to buy the property, which we did. The fire district bought the property. They've renovated a lot of it. They now they control the park. They control most of the buildings on the right-hand side of the west side of Cottrell Street, and a couple on the east side. This is a public park, paid for with your fire district taxes. When the Mystic Art Festival takes place, nothing takes place in the Mystic River Park. When Mystic Eats takes place in the fall, we get to use the lawn for some children's activities. That's it. In the past, they used to put the tent up when the Chamber did the Taste of Mystic behind the Scott Building. It is a highly restricted public park. I would contend it is not run as a public park. It's run by a commission of members, most of whom live in the immediate vicinity. It's almost a private park. And I think that has to change. And I would strongly encourage all of you, as I will encourage the members of the Mystic River Park Commission, to loosen up a little bit. Why can't people tie boats up to the docks along the Mystic River Park? They could charge for that. Why can't we have more activities on the lawn? I need only look to Westerly in contrast, Washington Park in the city of Groton, Wilcox Park in Westerly is owned by the library. They have myriad activities in that park, Shakespeare festivals, fairs, etc. The Mystic River Park Commission has a rule that says you can't engage in any profit-making activity in the park. Now, all of their real estate that they lease is profit-making, but that's considered to be a different kind of thing. So I think it's a big issue, and I think it's time for the park to become a public park again and open, so that when we have events, and the more events we have, the more people will attract to downtown Mystic. You know, I think that in all of these things, there's an ingrained resistance to change. Change is very difficult for a lot of people, but it's inevitable. It's not going to stop. And I think, too, that a lot of the resistance to change comes more from the elderly, a lot of the elderly population, people who've lived in Mystic for a long, long time. Now, I don't consider myself a part of that, but when I look in the mirror, I realize, you know, who is that guy? I mean, I don't feel like I'm that age. I've been throwing my AARP solicitation card in the garbage for 14 years. I'm about to apply for Medicare. It's terrifying. So I'm trying my best to feel and act and think in a more young kind of state of mind, even if it's an illusion. And that means I'm embracing change. I'm in favor of change. I'm in favor of greater dynamism in the area, and I encourage you all to join me in that. Thanks very much.